Well, hello, dear students. This is Professor Rusty back again. We will continue with Lesson 3 and Topic 1. And in this lesson, we're going to take a brief survey of leadership models. Now, keep in mind that we will do much more in-depth review of these leadership models as we go through the course. I remind you that Topic 1 is broken down into 4 subtopics. The first, how organizations work, which we completed. The differences between leaders and managers, which we completed. Models of leadership, which we will be working on. And then strategies for developing a personal leadership style, which is yet to come. Now, what is a leadership model, you ask? Well, a leadership model is a theoretical framework. You can hold it right there, is a theoretical framework. And the framework is for how best to guide and oversee employees. A leadership model typically suggests a corresponding response style to employee and organizational needs that has proven useful. Now, a leadership model works for a business, a leadership model works for an industry, a leadership model works in education. But keep in mind that a leadership model also works in religious settings. A leadership model can be applied to a church just as well as a leadership model can be applied to a business. Leadership models differ from leadership styles. Now, you will see some similarity in the leadership models that we use to the leadership styles that we discussed earlier. That is because a leadership style, when employed in an organization for long enough, helps the organization operate a certain way. And then, so there's a similarity, and we will discuss some of those things yet to come. The leadership model serves as the conceptual framework to explain what makes a leader great. The leadership style represents the pattern of leadership behaviors employed by the leader. Now, I want to remind you that as we go into these leadership models, that there is no one size fits all, and there is no this is the right way versus this is the wrong way. Your actual leadership model and your leadership style may be a conglomeration of many of these things that we look at. And certainly the leadership model or style that you use will be contingent upon the situation that you're in at the time. Now, let's talk about some of the ones that we're going to look at. Now, guys, there are almost infinitely many leadership models. I've chosen to discuss 6 of them with you. First, the autocratic leadership model, the laissez-faire leadership model, affiliative leadership model, transactional leadership model, servant leadership model, and the transformational leadership model. Autocratic leadership the autocratic leadership model is just about like the autocratic leadership style. One person is in charge, and the leader makes all the decisions without other people's input. This, again, as I pointed out earlier, was born in the Industrial Revolution when you had the boss telling the employees what to do, or the owner told the employees what to do. The owner gave direction, made decisions, did everything, and the employee's job was just not to question why, but simply to do as die. Autocratic leaders or authoritarians like to have total control over events and decisions. They are usually highly task-oriented and use rigid rules and processes to achieve outcomes. Such leaders often focus entirely on achieving goals and make independent decisions to attain these outcomes. The authoritarian leadership style is ideal for highly structured environments where people perform specific and repetitive tasks to reach certain objectives. Remember, in the autocratic model, the leader is fully in charge. Now, for most cases in our day and age, we find that the autocratic model is substantially outdated. There does come a time in rare instances where the autocratic leadership model must be employed, but for the most part in today's workplace, we find that people are much more part of the decision-making process and expect to be, and that organizations that employ all people in the decision-making process are usually more current and more able to survive. But the autocratic leadership model is the first major leadership model that we come across. If you go out into the Bible and you look at different leaders, you can probably find an autocratic leader. Now that'd be an interesting task, wouldn't it? The laissez-faire leadership model is the other end of the spectrum. The leadership autocratic is, I'm in charge. The laissez-faire is, you're in charge, get the task done that you were assigned to do in any way that you choose to do it. Laissez-faire is a French term that means leave it be, which signifies a leadership method where the leader gives teams near complete autonomy to accomplish a task. Leaders who use this style of management provide their people with the resources and enabling environments to achieve results. They then step back, provide as little supervision as required for people to perform their duties. Leaders who adopt this style are confident in their team's ability to take the initiative and deliver results without micromanagement. Catch that last word, micromanagement. When we go back to the autocratic leadership model, we have micromanagement. I am in charge. Here is what you are to do. Every decision will be made by me. In the laissez-faire leadership model, you are in charge. The team is in charge. Get the job done. Here's your task. Not just is the team in charge, but if you're an administrator given an area, reporting to another administrator, the senior administrator says, here's what you're to do, get it done. And that's the laissez-faire leadership model. This is the other end of the spectrum. The first end is autocratic on one end, the laissez-faire is on the other. Now, we talk about affiliative leadership model. Affiliative leadership model is a people-oriented leadership. It is a model that emphasizes the skills, experiences, and personal strengths of individuals as a collective over the powers of the leader. This type of leadership style promotes collaboration and provides people with the opportunity to achieve their full potential. Affiliative leaders have an in-depth understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of their employees and match each person to duties that allow them to achieve peak performance. High-performance work teams thrive in the affiliative leadership model. This is a collaborative model. Yes, there's a leader in charge who is orchestrating the different teams. Yes, there is someone who is putting people on the right task. But this tends to be a little bit more towards the laissez-faire leadership model, not as far as laissez-faire, but somewhat towards it. And people are turned loose. You're going to do your job. You may be reporting back and may have supervision as to what you can do, but you have a task to do, and we have assigned the right people to make it happen. The transactional leadership model is really quite interesting. When we study this model, we're going to look at what we call exchange theory. It's developed by George Hohmann, where people make decisions based on what they get in return. Not long back, a president walked into the admissions office and said to the admissions staff, we need X number of students. If you reach this goal, then each of you is going to receive a bonus. That's transactional leadership. You give me something, I give you something in return. And each party meets specific conditions. For example, a leader can promise the team a certain reward, such as a bonus or a commendation if they complete a project by a certain deadline. To serve their personal interest, team members work to achieve a leader's request and receive compensation after delivering that project or request. Holman's exchange theory fits this model very, very well. Holman's exchange theory envisions people like little cash registers, you know. You hit the button, you put this in, then you get something in return, what I get out of it. Now, Greenleaf developed what is called the servant leadership model. This is a powerful model of leadership. This is a leader who focuses on the needs of people to inspire them to share the vision and dedicate themselves to collective goals without emphasis on what the leader gets out of it. These leaders prioritize the professional goals and interests of their staff without focusing on their own status or power. When you look at the world and you go into religious circles, you generally find them being led at the very top by servant leaders. Jesus of Nazareth was a servant leader. He sacrificed himself for the good of others. You see that with other leaders. I would argue that the prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, was a servant leader. You might argue that Confucius or Confucius was a servant leader. A lot of times, this is a powerful style of leadership, in that what the leader is doing is pursuing the organizational good by focusing on growing and enhancing and increasing the capabilities and the people around them and meeting their needs, rather than focusing on the leader's sense of power and authority. This method is ideal for people who can be selfless without sacrificing their ability to guide people to the attainment of collective goals. People, for some reason, tend to follow more an individual who is seeking their good than seeking self-good. That's what servant leadership is based upon. Transformational leadership creates an environment that encourages people to innovate and improve existing processes, procedures, and ways of operating. These leaders aim to initiate and drive positive change in their organization. You may have been in a place where they sought input from all ranks as to how things can be done better. That's transformational leadership. They do this by creating a vision and persuading others to support the attainment of their objectives. These leaders allow people to have a high level of autonomy, as this is essential for innovation and creativity. Transformational leaders encourages their teams to try new methods of solving problems and to trust in their abilities to deliver results. Transformational leadership can bring an organization, help an organization quickly achieve its aims and its goals. Closing, keep in mind that no leadership model is the be-all and end-all guide to leadership. Every leadership model has its use. Also remember that many other leadership models exist other than those I have provided. I have not touched the surface of the leadership models. I selected 6 that are a little bit better known in order that you might look at them. And the purpose for your looking at them is to help you develop your own leadership model so that you can have a leadership style that you put to work to help improve your abilities as a leader. Now, more good things are yet to come. More videos, more topics.